and welcome everybody back to History Pitch number 4. It's a pleasure to have you back. If you were listening to our live feed last week, it wasn't live at all, so I'm very sorry about that. But you can always get our podcasts on our Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/historypitch. And I have Josie with me today. Josie.
Hi.
Hi. What happened in history today?
Like with last week, not a great deal. Well, in 1947, there was the UN vote for the partition of Palestine. And in 1760, Major Roger Rogers, who has a funny name, takes possession of Detroit on behalf of Britain.
Victoria?
No, Detroit.
Oh, Detroit. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it. Other than in 1961, NASA launched a chimpanzee named Enos into Earth's orbit.
Oh, but that's like a major event in human-animal relations.
A pretty cruel one.
Cross species. Yeah, let's not. I mean, humans have done many cruel things to animals in their time. So, thank you. Well, now, today we have a jam-packed lineup. Erika is culture reviewing. The itinerant poetry librarian is far, far away and has sent us a missive. The devil is back with Simon. Rob, we have a new segment, Rob's Random Facts. If we can get him, we have to ring him up. So that would be a technological milestone in History Pitch. We've got Sam Aylett talking about the Great Eastern Railway. And we have a few new, very exciting segments. Dumb Ways to Die, which Artemis is going to be pioneering. And the luckiest people in history from Josie. And hopefully we've got Beetle Babe and a special guest star coming into the studio. If all of this comes off, ladies and gentlemen, it will be a miracle. But let's begin by seeing what Erika Hanna has to say to us. Here we go. Come on in, Erika. Erika.
Hello, Tamson.
Welcome back to History Pitch. What have you been up to this week?
Okay, Tamson. This week I actually need a bit of your help with this one because it's not something I know much about. But I went to the exhibition on the history of longitude at Greenwich Observatory.
Oh. Is that a standing exhibition or is it a special exhibition?
It's actually, I think it's a standard one, but I think it's been recently redone and with sort of astronomical prices to match because it used to be free and now it's quite expensive. I warn you.
That's very interesting. Yes, I think I do recall going there, and that's where they've got the lights for Greenwich Mean Time.
Exactly where it is. Yeah, on the hill. It's actually very pretty on the hill above the city, looking into the Isle of Dogs. So I do recommend it for a day out.
The vista.
Go on.
The vista. But I really want to know what you wore to this exhibition.
Do you know what I wore? I spent far too much of the weekend eating, so I wore a dress over a pair of jeans.
Oh my goodness, isn't that some fashion crime?
Well, it was a baggy dress. It was quite a short black baggy dress and a pair of Uniqlo stretchy, jeggings.
Okay.
So it's like I was basically wearing like my elasticated waistband pregnant lady clothes.
Okay, so did you fit in with the other patrons romping on the hill?
Everyone I went with was wearing an elasticated waistband because part of the problem was I went with my nieces and nephews.
Oh, you went with 5-year-olds?
I went with several 5-year-olds, which meant that I really, really didn't understand what was going on, and they definitely did even less than me. So yeah, I think I fitted in. Don't worry, it was okay.
Okay. So we've got two things to talk about then. One is the content of the exhibition, and two is what it's like to visit an exhibition with children, which must shorten your attention span, if nothing else.
I don't know, to be honest, I don't know why you bring children to an exhibition on the history of longitude. They don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to them. It makes very little sense to me. And to be honest, most of the exhibition is clocks.
Right. But that's it. Okay, hang on. So you don't know what longitude is really or how it came to exist?
I have the most sort of, I have a really poor grasp of it.
So you hear a typical kind of member of the public who could have learnt something very concrete from this exhibition that you went to but failed to.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is the failure of museum practice in this instance. Yeah. Okay, so why did it fail?
I think actually that's an interesting topic, like when museums fail, when good museums go bad, and I suspect this is one. Because basically, longitude, for the folks listening at home, is those lines on the globe that make the globe look like an orange, right? And what happens is the sailors at sea didn't know where they were in the past, and in particular with the increase in global trade and shipping in 17th, 18th centuries, and cargoes kept on being lost on rocks as ships kept crashing into into rocks. Okay,
yeah.
So in what the early 18th century, this is your idiot's guide to longitude. In the early 18th century, the king gave a prize of £20,000 if a scientist could solve how the sailors could know where they were in the globe, in an empty sea with no landmarks.
Can I just intervene here a little bit to give some context?
Okay.
Yeah, because sailors know where they are, what latitude they're at, obviously.
Okay.
Because they can measure that not only by the weather temperature but also by the sun. But longitude, there are no, there's the magnetic poles, and so they used to use the stars, but the stars move and the sky gets clouded over. So the problem was that you could find out what latitude you're at quite accurately, but it was very difficult to find out what longitude you're at.
Okay, I see that. There's some quite fun ways they tried to solve it, right? Like they thought they might put a line of rafts the whole way around the world that periodically shot up fireworks.
That's brilliant.
I thought it was a good idea. To be honest, if I was given the task of solving this, that's probably what I'd come up with as well. But there's the struggle for almost 100 years. This difficulty with solving longitudes.
So why the clocks?
Well, actually, it becomes this whole exhibition on clocks. And there's actually one, all of us have read our A.P. Thompson, right?
Yeah.
There's one on what does time do to society, which is my favourite room, actually, which has showed a range of clocks from different societies and showed how those societies related, those clocks related to sort of different social practices. So that was my favourite room, because it was very what's that article called? Time, Work, Discipline and Industrial Capitalism. It was that article.
Right up your alley.
Right up my alley, exactly. Where my enjoyment of history froze around 1975. So that was good. That was one of the reasons for the clocks. And the other reason for the clock, I remembered now, is because this is how they solve longitude, isn't it?
Yeah, how?
So
tell us.
So I'll tell you, listeners. So they've got... If you know the time in London, and you know the exact time, so it has to keep time perfectly, and that's key, and you know the exact time where you are, so you set that from where the sun is, then no.
No, you're right? If you can time the difference between London and where you are, you can work out how far you've travelled, right? So,
okay.
Right, but what you need to do is be able to have an accurate clock that you can keep on board. So you're measuring the distance you've travelled, really.
Okay, that's quite good. That's good. I get this now.
Right, so what the clocks were all about is developing but the problem was at sea, the wood in the clock expands and contracts with the salt and the temperature change. There's magnetic interference. There's obviously bumpiness. So the whole clock thing was about developing the technology so that it would measure accurately, so not lose time as the voyage progressed.
I get this. Okay. I'm getting an understanding of longitude. So can I ask you some questions here about this, just to sort of contextualise my experience?
I'll do my best. We do have 30 seconds, a limited amount of time.
Okay. So now in London we have the Greenwich Mean Time, and it's literally this line running through Greenwich, and all these tourists were standing there having their photograph taken. But it's a wholly arbitrary line.
Yes.
As a colonial historian, is that all a bit weird?
Well, there was competition over where that line would be. For the French had one of theirs own for a while. And America was putting in a bid to have New York Mean Time as well. So, I mean, it was going to be arbitrary anyway, but I think we can see this is about a kind of longer process in which the world is becoming more uniform, and it's part of the kind of international postal service agreements and a whole kind of
range of treaties that are developing in the 19th century, which Britain is leading, but which are internationalising and regulating what had previously been largely unregulated spaces. Does that make sense?
Okay, no, that's interesting. I get that now. I feel more comfortable with it. One final question. Have you, as an Australian, had your photograph taken at Greenwich Mean Time?
I have not, I must say, have my photo taken at Greenwich. No.
Okay, I'm happy with that.
All right.
Thank you, Miss Tamson.
Erika, this has been great.
Okay, thanks.
Let's critique some more museum practice next week.
Exactly.
Okay, bye. Thank you very much, Erika, for our fashion/culture segment. Of course, fashion is a part of culture, so that's fine. So coming back to the studio, we have the wonderful Artemis, who has brought some spectacular pieces of cake, which I hope to post to the website very soon, keeping us all going. And here we have a new segment, and I'm going to just introduce it with the theme song, just so hopefully this will work. Oh, there we are.
So many dumb ways to die. Dumb ways to die. So many.
And hello. And so that was Artemis. Artemis's new segment, Dumb Ways to Die. Artemis, what have you got?
Well, to be honest, my first one for today is really cool.
Really? You're racing?
It's dumb, but really cool. Even though I don't know whether we can say dumb about a person's death. But
yeah, are they cool ways to die as well as
that one is really cool.
All right,
I mean, the first one is the first person killed by a robot.
A robot?
Yes, isn't that in 1981? Exciting, isn't it?
How does this work?
Okay, that is in Japan.
Of course,
and the guy's name is Kenny Rada. Sorry, I can't pronounce that. So he was a maintenance engineer in a Kawasaki plant in Japan. He was working on a faulty robot and was trying to turn it off, but he failed to do so. That resulted in his death when the robot's hydraulic arm pushed him to the grinding machine.
The grinding machine?
Grinding,
so
where he died immediately.
His own robot was pushed him into the grinding machine.
Yeah. It's sad, isn't it? But cool.
But cool.
He was the first person to die by a robot.
Yeah.
Great.
Wonderful. I can see this could be a feature of executions in times to come.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
I do. I have Jack Daniel. Do you know, the whiskey maker. Do you know how he died? In 2006, there was an advertisement with that.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he drink himself to death?
No. That would have been really nice, but no. It was more dumb than that. That was dumb, to be honest. So one day he was trying to open his safe, but he didn't remember the combination of the safe locks, and in anger he hit the safe with his toe.
Okay.
Unfortunately, his toe injured seriously, and later it caused blood poisoning that led him to death.
Septicemia and death.
And they actually made a joke out of that, because they said that if he had dipped his toe into a glass of his own whiskey, he could have been alive. That's sad and dumb. So.
Okay, and really it's quite sad that this man's stupid death has been turned to commercial purposes. But that's wonderful. I'm very pleased with this new segment, Artemis, and with your cake. So let's switch now to Simon, and let's see how Simon's going. He was very upset that he was missed out last week, so hopefully we'll appease him.
You fool.
And hello, welcome back to Curmudgeonly Simon.
Yeah, after an enforced break last week.
Oh, enforced? We missed you terribly.
Well, you didn't ring me up or get in touch with me.
I was on a plane back from India. What was I supposed to do?
Well, you got in touch with Erika to talk about photography.
Ooh. Well, make it up, Simon. Make it up this week. If you're
going down. You're going down, Simon.
Take me down.
Careful.
Now, I think we'd set you the task of defending the Versailles Treaty.
You did, if you can remember back that far. Yes, that's what you said me.
I am a historian.
Yes.
Now, it wasn't Versailles that, it bankrupted Germany. It created the conditions for the Second World War. It wasn't a peace treaty at all. It was an armistice for 20 years.
I think you can exaggerate how harsh the Versailles Treaty was, and you have to remember that Germany did start the First World War, and also the British had decisively defeated Germany in 1918. And the reparations bill, again, that can be exaggerated. I mean, Germany had set a very high reparations bill for France in 1871, and the French were able to pay that back early. So the Germans, in many ways, they crashed their own economy rather than paying reparations.
But the state of the German economy and its ability to repay that money after the First World War was very different than the French in 1870 or the British indeed in 1919. I mean, France and Britain still had huge empires that they were able to exploit, whereas Germany was not just decimated by war, but its boundaries had been totally redrawn.
I think what you understand about Germany is, if you think about how Germany's behaving towards Greece now, I know they're very different Germanys, but it's not making any excuses about, Greece did this, Greece did that, and that's why Greece is in this mess. Well, Germany had done terrible things to get itself in the mess. Germany had assumed that other people would pay for the war, defeated states would pay for its war, so it got itself into a terrible mess even before the peace. After peace came, Germany kept taxation low and kept the welfare state benefits high. So Germany effectively did its own economy down.
Yeah, but you don't plan for defeat.
No, but the argument you're making is that somehow Britain and France had the war forced upon them and who conducted the war in a very kind of careful way. I mean, France was having to pay loans to Britain. Britain was having to pay loans to America. Why should Germany's problems be written off?
That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, as victorious powers, they were able to keep their colonial possessions, which are massive parts of their economy, in contrast to Germany.
Well, Germany didn't have many colonial possessions, did it?
No, but it had large... I mean, let's talk about what constitutes empire, right? You mentioned Greece. There are many ways of being a kind of colony. And all to the east...
Some of the territory that Germany had acquired in the east, it acquired very recently. It took it from the Russian Empire, the Bolsheviks now, in 1917. So some of the territory had annexed recently, and it wasn't ashamed. The Germans were quite happy to take 55 million Russian citizens away. So the amount of territory that was taken away from Germany was very small, and in some cases it should have been German anyway. The Danish border still stands to the present day. The French border still stands to the present day.
It should have been German anyway. I mean, we do have to take some responsibility for this notion that the structural conditions of hardship are created by the Versailles Treaty that then lead to the interwar period.
Well, I mean, that can be overstated. I mean, violence is a choice, first and foremost. The German elite chose to go to war in 1914, and the German elite again chose to go to war in 1939. It wasn't exactly forced upon Germany. There were other options available to them.
But we know, Simon, that violence is more or less a legitimate or easy option for people to take depending on the circumstances.
But what were those circumstances? I mean, Germany wasn't ridiculously harshly punished at Versailles. And anyway, it wasn't about sorting out the injustice of Versailles that Hitler went to war in 1939. And even if we're being counterfactual here, even if it had been a kind of German army dictatorship that had been in power at the end of the 1930s, the war of revenge they would fight wouldn't have been to kind of create a system that Versailles should have created. It would have gone much beyond that. I mean, Poland, for instance, would have been completely under the German thumb.
Well, I'm glad you're talking about counterfactuals in the wider context, because Versailles is part of a broader settlement package for the First World War. The First World War wasn't just about Europe, and if we step outside Europe for a moment, we see that Versailles and its associated treaties are part of a package that creates problems in the Middle East. It sets the seeds of independence in India. I mean, it sets in train a whole series of events that really reshape the world in the first half of the 20th century.
It does. You've now moved outside Europe, and I want to find this very hard ground to fight on.
Well, we need
quite spectacular achievement to betray both the Zionists and the Arabs, but the British government managed.
I think you've just conceded defeat there, Simon.
There's no ground to really fight the Zionists. I mean, look at Iraq, which is created by the Paris Peace Conference, and pretty soon the British are dropping bombs on it. So
there you are. So we have to provincialise Europe, and the whole picture changes. Simon, I think I won this week.
Yeah, you did by cheating, though.
Cheating?
It was supposed to be about Versailles.
I'm gonna change tack next week. Okay. I'm going to give you something different. The Hobbit, the film, is about to be released.
Really exciting, yeah.
Yeah, exciting. Small men with hairy feet.
Oh, love a bit of that.
Love a bit of that. I want you to tell me why Tolkien is not a racist and a sexist.
Well, the books rather than the person, maybe. Can I talk about what the books
Okay.
are?
Yeah, we can't speak about him, but let's speak about the world he depicts.
Although we can't libel him because he's dead, so that's an advantage.
No.
But yeah, let's stick to the books.
Right? You're defending Tolkien.
I'm defending the books.
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
the books. The author
Yes.
is dead, you're defending, etc.
I'm happy with that. I can do that. I'll come back to you hard.
Look forward to it. You can fly to New Zealand and do some research.
Oh, is Brunel going to cover that? Is that
No problems.
that's brilliant. Thank you
You
very
can
much.
have 100% of our budget of zero. Thank you very much, Simon. It's been a pleasure. And Simon, and now we're back to the studio. Again, pioneering yet another groundbreaking segment. But this is one that faces some technological hurdles. So what we're going to do is we're going to try a live telephone call. Okay, we're calling Rob. Can you hear that? No, I'm just going to have to fill in the gap while we make a connection to Cambridge. So Josie, while we're talking, right, while I'm trying to sort out this technological difficulties, we were talking about The Hobbit there with Simon. What's all this about planes, Artemis? What is that? Artemis, tell us what you've got on your phone.
I've got a picture of the Gollum trying to catch some fish inside the airport, which is quite cool. It's like the Gollum is dipping in a river, which is the wall of the airport, and he's trying to catch some fish. And that's in the air, and that's really cool.
Is this the airport in Heathrow or in
New Zealand.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you fly to New Zealand, you may be captured by the Gollum.
Yeah.
And the planes are also decorated.
Yeah, some of them are painted. I don't know what technique is that. And they have the characters and the name of the film. It's really cool.
Okay, gosh, Air New Zealand. Yeah, it's all part of Tourism New Zealand's conspiracy. Okay, we're going to try Rob again. Okay, here we are. Is it working? Oh.
Hello?
Hello, Rob. You're live on air. It's Tamson here.
Oh, how exciting.
Oh, yes, very exciting indeed. Now, we've called your segment Rob's Random Facts. Is that are you happy with that?
I'm not happy with that, no.
What-
They're not random. They're historical.
They're well, naturally, but have you got a better idea for a name for your segment?
Rob's Random Historical Facts.
Oh, right, okay, because that's so much better.
Yeah.
No, as I understand it, this is how this will work. We will call you wherever you are in the world, and I will put my phone on speaker and hold it up to the microphone, and then I will. You're going to give us a country, and you're going to tell us. You've got 60 seconds to tell us some inanities about that country.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a randomly selected country.
That's right. There's a certain paradox in that sentence.
Yes.
Okay, so what country have you randomly selected for today?
There is actually, amazingly, if you go to randomcountry.com, it will generate you a random country.
Oh, and you've actually... So we'll take it on trust that this is the method that you've used.
This is the method that I've used, and the country is... Hang on, let's see whether this works.
Drum roll, drum roll.
The country is...
Oh.
Does that work?
Yeah, in a very sort of... The volume was a problem. Was it Puerto Rico?
It is. Puerto Rico. Exactly.
Okay, so I'm going to give you 60 seconds.
Are you counting down?
Yeah, starting now. Go.
Okay, it's officially called the Estado Libre Asociado de Puerto Rico. It was claimed by Christopher Columbus for Spain in 1493 on his second voyage. Much of the indigenous population was forced into slavery or killed and infected with diseases. The US only took control of Puerto Rico in about 1898 after the Spanish-American War, which is the only American war in which more soldiers died of disease than in battle. El Yunque in Puerto Rico is the only tropical rainforest in the US National Park System. Hammocks originate from Puerto Rico, and the word is based on a Taino word, and they were noticed by European sailors and started being used on European ships in the 1590s. It's the birthplace of Rita Moreno, who played Maria in West Side Story, and she is the first woman to win an Oscar, a Grammy, an Emmy, and a Tony. The Puerto Rican flag flag was designed by separatists who wanted independence from Spain and was based on the Cuban flag, not the American flag, as some people think. The first American shot fired in World War I.
Okay, and your time's up. That's the time's up, Rob. But we got in 21 there.
21?
Yeah, I was counting.
Wow.
That was pretty good.
So hang on, so are we going to keep a track of this and I've got to beat that every week?
Yeah, totally. Of
okay,
course.
21. Let me write that down.
Element
21.
of competition introduced.
We didn't even get to talk about Joaquin Phoenix.
Okay, what is your favourite fact of the ones that you didn't get to...
I was actually quite taken with the hammocks.
The hammocks, yeah.
Yeah. That's a great contribution to... I mean, because it's great because Columbus, took Puerto Rico for Spain, and then you think of the Columbian Exchange and you think of potatoes, but you never think of hammocks.
You don't, and maybe we are correcting that right here, right now.
That's exactly what we're doing. We're correcting narratives of the Columbian Exchange.
Yeah, of colonialism, hey?
Of colonialism, yeah, exactly.
Revisionist history, cutting edge here on HistoryPitch.
Exactly.
Rob, that has been fab. I look forward to some nuggety history from you.
Do you want me to select the next country now, or do you want to be surprised?
No, I want to be surprised.
Okay, good.
Okay, and if you can make that the theme song work, that'd be good too. Okay. And go back to your Cambridge library.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. Wow, wasn't that fast and furious? You were holding something up for me to read, and I couldn't quite remember. We had some instantaneous textual feedback. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, we had some instantaneous textual feedback whilst that was going on. I'm sure Rob is dying to know what it is. Josie, can you tell us what our listeners are thinking?
Well, he might not appreciate this feedback. Apparently, he sounds like an underwater robot.
Ooh. Well, he did a bit, actually. Although, to be fair, there was a lot of telephone cable and distance between him and us. He's coming from Cambridge. I mean, I just think we're covering the country here, because now we're going to go to the itinerant poetry librarian, who is coming from far away in Scotland. So let's just see what she's got.
Hello and welcome. Today we have a Scottish theme. We're up in Edinburgh exploring the Scottish Book Trust and also the Scottish Poetry Library. But first up for you we have our excerpt from the archive. This features the poet Helen Adams. Helen Adams was something of a child prodigy in Scotland, composing poetry and compiling and publishing a book, The Elfin Peddler and Tales Told by Pixie Pool, when she was 14. Adams emigrated to America with her family in 1939, and it was in San Francisco that Helen Adams' reputation as a poet fully took off. This was during the period of the San Francisco Renaissance, and also, of course, the beat scene. The exit you're now going to hear is taken from one of Jack Spicer's Poetry's Magic workshops. The workshop took place on June 10th in 1957. This excerpt is taken from the Poetry Center and American Poetry Archives digital archive, known as the PCDA. And you can find them online at diva.sfsu.edu/collections/Poetry Center. Don't forget the American spelling on that. We've taken a short excerpt from Helen's reading, and now you're going to hear her read the poem Night Nursery Rhyme.
Excerpts from the archive.
Night Nursery Rhyme. Bells clang low in Tom Never's tower. High is the moon, late is the hour. Fallen lax as a hawthorn spray, the moon maid lies under flowering May. The mirror speaks on Tom Never's wall. She was the fairest of them all. The armed man turns where torches pass. His mailed fist threatens the weeping glass. Over the hills and far away, the moon doth shine as bright as day. A silver whispering fills the air. She was the fairest of the fair.
Hello and welcome. It is the Itinerant Poetry Librarian, and I'm here at the Scottish Book Trust with two valued patrons of the library, aka
Claire Stewart
and
Sasha de Boyle.
And you guys are going to tell us a little bit of information about the Scottish Book Trust and the work that you do with libraries.
Yes, that's right. Well, libraries are at the centre of what we're doing this week, which is Book Week Scotland. In libraries in Scotland this week, there will be 100 authors visiting 100 libraries.
Amazing.
In every local authority in Scotland. So wherever you are, there will be an author in your library nearby somewhere.
Also, as part of Book Week Scotland, in libraries we'll be giving away My Favourite Place, which is a free book which is going out to basically every human who can get their hands on it in Scotland.
How many copies of that?
150,000.
150,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's an awful lot of book.
So there are copies in every single library in Scotland, so we'll be working with them to get those distributed out. And
Brilliant. So if you go down to your local library in Scotland this week, you'll be able to get your hands on one of those copies.
Yep. And so My Favourite Place is a collection of stories, songs, poems, sketches, drawings from some commissioned authors and artists in Scotland, and then also submissions from the public. So we had over 1,000 submissions and we selected about 20. And they've made it into the book, and they're all very good. So,
and that's a free book that you can get your hands on.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the more well-known authors who are in the book, I think, are Alistair Gray. Is that right?
He's done a drawing.
He's done a drawing, and who else is in the book?
We've got Michael Palin, Alexander McCall-Smith, Ada Moffat, Liz Lockhead, James Robertson.
A piece of library ephemera for library interested people is the Mobile Library Van song.
Oh, yes.
Which is by the mobile library man, Howard Swindles. He has written a song about his experience being the mobile library man.
It's the best song ever.
It's brilliant.
It sounds like it could very well be, and we'll have to look out for that.
Yeah, I think we're looking to get it recorded, actually.
Excellent.
So.
Well, thank you very much, valued patrons. We look forward to seeing you at the library again, and thank you for giving us a bit of information about the amazing, fabulous Scottish Book Trust, where we are located right now, headquarters in Edinburgh, and all the brilliant work that you do to do with books and literature and libraries. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Library Lowdown of the Week. Did you know that the Scottish Poetry Library has some of Helen Adams' work available? Indeed, of course, the Scottish Poetry Library has a huge amount of poetry, and in particular, of course, a Scottish selection of work. The Scottish Poetry Library, also known as the SPL, is one of 3 poetry libraries in the UK, but the only one to be independently constituted and housed. Beginning, as some of the best things do, with a vision, the SPL was founded by the poet Tessa Ransford, who wanted to create a resource of written works of poetry. In some rooms off the Royal Mile in the old town of Edinburgh, with these 300 books that were mostly donated, and a part-time staff of 2, the SPL opened its doors. In 1999, the Scottish Poetry Library moved into custom-built premises further down the mile, and the stock has now grown to about 30,000 items. The fundamental elements of Tessa's vision remain, that is, free access to lending and reference collections, a national core and international outlook, thus enabling the pleasures of poetry to be shared in schools and also through an events programme. How do you join the Scottish Poetry Library? It's very easy. They are a lending library, and it is free to use and become a borrower. You can simply drop in at any time during their opening hours and either sign up there and then, or if you have a specialist research request, you can ask the librarians to help you out. In order to become a borrower, simply fill out their form and show them some proof of address. And the best bit, for anyone who is not located conveniently in Edinburgh or indeed Scotland, anyone in the UK can borrow their items by post. There is a small charge, but if you become a Friends of the Library, it's in fact free. Right now they're also hosting a special exhibition. As part of Book Week Scotland, the SPL has in fact the anonymously gifted book sculptures, which you may have heard about. Carved from paper, the sculptures were left around different venues in Scotland, including the Scottish Poetry Library. All 10 of these sculptures have now been collected together and presented as an exhibition, which is currently available to see at the Scottish Poetry Library. If you're in town, do take a look.
And that was the poetry librarian coming from Edinburgh. My God, she gets around. I wonder where she'll be next week and what she'll have to tell us. I mean, a lot of library facts, really, aren't there? So back now to the studio, pioneering yet another segment. Josie, it's on. I even remembered to turn it on, the microphone. Okay, so the luckiest people in history. This is another new segment, but I think we need a nattier title for it. I'm going to work on that. Who is the luckiest person in history this week?
Well, today we have Timothy Dexter, who was born in 1748 and died...
Sorry, is that actually his name?
Timothy Dexter.
Oh, Dexter. I thought you said Dagster. And I don't know... Okay, anyway.
Yeah, he died in 1806. So he was kind of an eccentric and he was uneducated, but he married a very wealthy widow, which is quite important because he then proceeded to spend her money on various investments.
Ooh.
And he was often given bad advice by his sort of friends who didn't like him.
Okay, so this is not sounding so good just yet.
But it turns out quite well for him. So one of the things he did was, at the end of the Revolutionary War, he bought large amounts of devalued continental currency, which was seen as pretty stupid. But then the US government...
So this would be like buying the drachma, no? Yeah, something massively devalued at the moment.
And then the US government sort of traded these for US dollars, and he made an absolute fortune from it. And he used this fortune to build 2 ships, sort of merchant ships. So then he sort of starts on some very interesting investments where he sent warming pans to the West Indies.
Okay.
So, like pans that you would use to warm your bed up.
To the West Indies.
To the West Indies. But they were sold there as ladles for the booming molasses industry. He sent wool mittens to the same place. But Asian merchants bought them to export to Siberia.
Oh my god, a massive re-export trade. So he's pretty stupid. He's... Okay.
Okay, so his sort of friends by this point are thinking, how is this guy doing so well? And sort of jokingly, they suggest him to send coal to Newcastle, which was, you know, very good for coal at the time. But he shipped the coal to Newcastle, which arrived during the time of a coal strike. So he sold it for an absolute premium. He also shipped gloves to the South Sea Island, which were bought by Portuguese on their way to China. He sold Bibles to the East Indies, which were welcomed by the missionaries. He sold cats to Caribbean islands who were fighting off rat infestations. And all of these he did without knowing what would happen. He just... I don't know whether he had an instinct or whether he was just exceedingly lucky, but he ended up being very well off. So he ended up like decorating his house really bizarrely and being very full of himself. He had 40 wooden statues in his garden of famous people, including himself, and he wrote that he was the best philosopher in the West. And he wrote his own book, which had 8,800 words, but no punctuation whatsoever.
Ooh, free association. That's like the height of modernist avant-garde practice. So what I'm getting from this is that in order to be very lucky, you've kind of got to be very stupid.
Yeah. And also have a lot of wealth to begin with.
Yeah.
If he hadn't married the rich widow, he wouldn't have gotten anywhere, I don't think.
No, he also clearly benefited. Also, I mean, here, I hate to introduce some historical context to this, but from all of this is about re-export. It's all about global trade, isn't it? It's all about being lucky because someone's passing through and picks up what's actually quite stupid and uses it for a different purpose.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much. Is his book bought or read?
It is quite popular.
Oh
yeah, it's very popular to the extent that he does a reprint, and he includes punctuation, but he does it in a couple pages at the end, and he tells the reader to salt and pepper it through the book as they'd like.
Oh, right, so he just has a whole page of exclamation marks and says, put these wherever you feel like it. Make your own. That's kind of brilliant, though. When is the book published? Do you know?
I can't remember. I think it was just before the 1800s.
Oh my
but
God.
I'm not sure. It was like a few years before he died. And he also held his own fake funeral, which was kind of weird. But 3,000 people attended before they sort of heard him screaming at his wife that she wasn't mourning enough.
Okay, so he's also psychotic.
Yeah.
Although that is a dream, you know, that's Huck Finn's dream too, isn't it? To attend his own fake funeral, and then you get to see whether people actually like you or not. So what, Mr. Dexter,
Yeah.
first name?
Timothy
Dexter, currently winning the competition for the luckiest man alive. We will return next week, hopefully, yeah. I mean, let's hope that stupidity is not a condition for luck, because otherwise, well, some of us may be very, very unlucky. Okay, so before I big note myself anymore, I'm going to go to our last segment of the day, not last recorded segment, which is Sam Aylett. Sam Aylett doing local vintage. Oh,
Sam Aylett.
Hi, how's it going?
Very good, Sam.
Good, fantastic.
Oops.
Today, I'm going to talk about the Great Western Railway.
Woohoo.
Built by our namesake, Isambard Kingdom Brunel.
When?
Yeah. Well, he began work on the Great Western Railway on the 31st of August 1835, for which he was selected. He was renowned for his work that he did on the Thames Tunnel with his father.
He dug it, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Didn't really work, did it?
No, well, I heard that it actually came crashing down on him at one point, and he got flushed out, but he survived. But it was an amazing feat of engineering. So they headhunted him from that. By the middle of the 19th century, railways had become preferred method of transportation, and this particular railway was designed to create a new trade route between Bristol and London.
Why was that important?
Well, Bristol was a major port city in Britain between the 17th and 19th century, as we know, and quite pivotal during the slave trade. Of course, in 1807, the slave trade was abolished in Britain, and a shift to industrialisation saw a decline at Bristol, but this was to create new trade, and Bristolians, I don't know what you call them, Bristolians, I don't know what you call them. So they supported this quite a lot, because it was a big benefit to their economy.
So they put a lot of money into it, the Bristol...
They did indeed, yeah. It was a big investment for them. Of course, that's all quite important, but how significant this is to our local area. Of course, it was built by Isambard, which is our namesake. Just a quick point on Bristol. He also built 2 ships at Bristol Port.
And a hotel.
And a hotel.
Yeah, you could get a ticket all the way from London, all the way to New York, and never leave Bristol. Never leave Brunel's... commerce.
Well, that was his aim, wasn't it, to extend the Great Western Railway across the Atlantic to open up the world to people. So he built a steamship, a paddle ship, the Great Western, and the first iron screw ship, the Great Britain, which was the first of its kind. So again, groundbreaking engineering work from... Yeah,
so how does this affect West Drayton?
Well, West Drayton, West Drayton and Uxbridge were, in 1857, absorbed into the Great Western Railway. They were stations prior to that. The West Drayton that we know is the second station that was built. The original one, built in 1838, I believe, was destroyed. The second one still standing. That was built in 1884 to take over the first one. Vine Street, as well, was, which we all know in Uxbridge. Vine Street is near Randall's.
Yeah.
There is a new food shop, obviously, I think we all know it, near the bank. Of course, that's not there anymore. That has been demolished. So there
was a station there?
There was, in Vine Street, absolutely.
That would be very handy.
It would be, wouldn't it? Absolutely. I mean, it seems quite bizarre, because West Drayton goes straight to London now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But we have to take this quite difficult long route
via the
Metropolitan, or even worse, the Piccadilly line. So Vine Street was there. I believe there was one in Cowley, but I didn't have a look at that too much.
Yeah.
But which was built a little bit later. So yes, this was quite... because Uxbridge is 16 miles away from London.
16.
Which I didn't. I thought it was a little bit closer than that. So West Drayton to Uxbridge was part of this larger network that connected Britain with the rest of the world.
And with Bristol, presumably.
And with Bristol, absolutely. Which it still goes. West Drayton still goes to Bristol Temple Meads, I believe.
So what we've got now is Heathrow Airport instead.
Yes.
So Uxbridge, connected to the commerce of the world.
Yeah, I suppose globalisation and new technology goes...
That's fab, Sam.
But, absolutely. I mean, 1962 it all shut down to passengers, and 1964 all traffic was closed, so we don't have them anymore. What I would urge people to do, though, if you go to Fraser River, just off the canal, the Grand Union Canal, there's some really lovely places that were part of the Grand Union, Great Western Railway, that you can go and visit. And English Heritage have just made a lot of these sites along the Great Western Railway. They put them on the heritage list.
Oh, cool.
So they've only just this year sought to protect a lot of those.
So that's at Fraser
River.
Fraser River.
It's off the Grand Union Canal near Uxbridge. You'll have to get a map out and find it for yourselves, but I had to look at some pictures and it's worth a walk.
Fantastic.
Quite beautiful, so.
Okay, well, there's some more local vintage from our local expert, Sam Aylett. Thank you very much, Sam. See you next week, I hope.
I hope you all enjoyed the nice reverb on that as well. I forgot to take that off from my recording. I've been doing so much tech activity. It's hard for me to keep up. So we're now back in the studio, and sadly Robin has been held up by power issues. But I actually went to Oxford yesterday, and there was a lot of water around, which, you know, we read this on London that there's flooding all over the country, but it's really quite something once you see it happening. But I wanted to have, in Robin's absence, a little bit of a chat now with my guest studio stars about something that I did on the weekend. So I went to a conference on Saturday, which was at the Museum of London, which is a really kind of interesting museum, and maybe I'll get Erika on board to kind of just talk about it when she gets a chance to go there. But the conference was on trust and authenticity in the period between the wars, which may sound very boring, but it's got me thinking quite a lot about what we trust. In particular, it's got me thinking about what is the point of a university degree. So Artemis and Josie are going to help me nut this out. So hello guys, the mic is on now, so you can't like poke fun at me like you're normally doing. Why do you think we trust university degrees? Okay, what is the job of a university degree? Radio silence.
Well, that's a bit impolite since we're using the university's radio, but to be honest, it was my parents that made me think that I need to go to university. You know, so to have a better life.
What was
to get a better job? Isn't that romantic and all?
It is romantic.
Knowledge and all that.
But I guess what I'm asking is, why is it universities that dispense knowledge, and why do we trust the knowledge that universities dispense? Because obviously you can get knowledge from many places, the internet being one of them. What is it that universities add to that package?
The university gives you a way of thinking. It doesn't give you knowledge. It gives you the key to unlock knowledge. Oh my God.
Ooh,
that was deep, wasn't it? I know, yeah.
Josie's got something to say. I feel it bursting out of her.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with that, because you do learn stuff at university.
So that's about content, right? So university is in part about content, but you can get content, you could get content from working at Google for 2 years. In fact, that's probably much better in terms of learning, I don't know, IP law, intellectual property law, or programming skills, than it is doing a degree, which is probably going to be 10 years out of date.
Yeah, but you have to just sort of trust in the institution and hope that you're going to get what you want out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, but the thing is that the university will not supply you with all the knowledge.
No, it can't.
So they will give you some theory to read, and from that you will know what you need to learn further if you want. Otherwise, you're going to apply what you have already learned. That's what I mean when I say that it's more of a key, as I said before.
Yeah, so Josie's talking about content, hard knowledge. Artemis is talking about the kind of processes, tools, right? Tools, intellectual tools that then help you assess information that you come across in the rest of your life. And I would argue that there's a third aspect to universities, which is about context. So that what we do here is we sit in radio studios and talk about ideas. We have to talk to people who aren't like us. We have to talk to people. We have to socialise with them, I hope, at least a little bit. And in this process, in this bumping up together of sociability in like actual places, you also learn something quite important about, not just about ideas, but about how to be a human. So that these three aspects of universities are key to the kind of knowledge you get here. And a degree is like a shorthand version of all of that. That's what a degree says. It says you've got all of that, which is, I think, why we care about a university degree. Maybe why your parents, wanted you to do it. But I'm just wondering, there's all this move towards online learning at the moment. You can take these big courses which are online. You can watch people giving lectures. So you'll get content and you'll get theory. You get content and you get the tools. You might not get the context. And I'm just wondering whether actually that matters, whether people still are going to care about a university degree. What do you think, Josie? You're our tech officer.
Well, you're not going to have the same experience, and it's the experience that's pretty vital. Obviously, you don't have the context, and you aren't being able to socialise or interact. You can ask questions, but you're not really going to get the discussion from it, and that's pretty vital.
So as a student, you've got to rank these three aspects. Which is the most interesting to you? Context, tools, and content.
For me, it's tools.
Tools are probably the most important in the long run, but the content is very interesting. So if you don't enjoy the content, you're not going to use the tools. So.
Yeah, that's true. But if you're a robot and you're going to be killing Mr. Japan, I mean, you're not also going to be able to really function in the world, are you? So I think the context, I would say that what I love is the context of that's why I'm here, right? So I can get to talk about ideas all day with people I've never met before. Well, that was a brief insight into my fun-filled weekend. This too could be your life if you're an academic. So turning back now to our regular segments, I think we've got two to come. One is going to be Beard or Babe, in which, in the absence of Tavinda, Josie is featuring. And then, of course, we finish with How British is Tamson. So, Josie, what Beard or Babe do you have for us this week?
We have another babe this week. It's Josephine Baker.
Ooh, yay! Okay, tell me.
Okay, so born in 1906, died in 1975. She was an American-born French dancer, singer, and actress. She was quite famous for her sort of exotic, erotic dancing, particularly the banana dance, which was...
Oh my god, tell me what the banana dance is.
It was basically a dance which had a skirt that was made of 16 bananas sewn together.
Sorry, they were unwrapped bananas?
No, they were sort of bananas.
Skin?
Yeah, with the skin on them.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And she had a very no-holds-barred type of dancing that made her an absolute sensation in Paris.
Okay, and what does no-hold-bars actually... I mean, I've got bananas and I've got jiggling, and I want to put the two together.
It's kind of like it, but it was a lot of body movement. It was considered very risque, especially for her American audience, where she was less well-received, partially because of the racism.
And because of the Protestantism, let's not kid.
Yeah, so she had a much better time in France. And she was also just generally a very great woman. She really put Lady Gaga to shame. Oh, yeah, definitely. She was one of the most famous women of the time. She was the first African-American female to star in a major motion picture. She was the richest entertainer. In 1927, she brought in the most income.
Wow.
She was offered unofficial leadership to the civil rights movement after Martin Luther King's death because of her involvement in civil rights. She refused to perform at segregated, dance halls. So this is one of the reasons why she was welcome in France, where there wasn't the same kind of segregation. She also, in the Second World War, she sort of played an interesting role. She was an honourable correspondent for the French resistance, and when she died, she got a 21-gun salute for that.
When did she die?
1975.
So she was quite old by then. What did she do in the end of her life?
Well, she died 5 days after doing a performance that was to commemorate her life, and she died surrounded by these raving reviews of how amazing she was. So it was quite a good death, really, to have done that performance and reading how everyone really loved her. So that was quite good. She also was kind of famous for adopting 12 children and from all different nations. They were called the Rainbow Tribe, and they lived in a castle. And it was quite amazing, really, because they were from everywhere. She was also bisexual and had numerous affairs throughout her life, notably with Frida Kahlo, and just like loads of other people. Yeah, and she was also quite good friends with Grace Kelly. She received approximately 1,500 proposals, and she was married 4 times.
She married 4 times?
Yeah, which is quite low considering the amount of proposals she received.
But quite high considering the number of years in her life.
Yeah, well, she first got married when she was 13 years old, and it was a very short marriage, actually.
And not one of her choosing, potentially?
It doesn't seem like it. It was a very unhappy marriage, but...
She was 13?
Yeah.
I mean, this tells us something about many things, doesn't it? Including Jimmy Savile.
Yeah. But after that point, when she started making money, she wasn't dependent on her husband, so she could choose whoever she wanted to get married. And she seemed to be relatively happy.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to take this opportunity to say marriage is about property. Okay, back to you. That was my radical broadcast. Josephine Baker, that was fabulous, fabulous. I'm pleased to see there were no beards behind this babe. Tavinder, if you're listening. Now, our final segment before we take us out is going to be How British is Tamson? And there's currently some fighting between who's going to interrogate me. We've also had some feedback. That the questions aren't hard enough. Now, look, I can't help it. I'm just here subject. We can hear you on this microphone, ladies. Chaos in the studio are fighting. I hope they're fighting over who gets to ask me the questions rather than the opposite. Okay, I hope you've sorted things out amongst yourselves. Okay, here we go. How British is Tamson?
Okay, we were actually fighting because Artemis can't say this word, and it's... In which area is Gaelic spoken?
Oh my God. Okay, fair enough. Where is Gaelic spoken? In Scotland.
Okay. Next question.
Oh, we get the answers at the end.
Okay, it's not.
Okay,
it's not doing it.
We've had a technical flaw. This is all because I failed to bring in the book today, but I think I got that right. Gaelic.
Yeah, that was correct.
Oh, yay. Okay, do we have another question?
So, yeah, in the 16th and 17th centuries, who came to Britain from France to escape political persecution?
The Huguenots. Bang, bang, bang. French. Yay. You have to say that I was right. Otherwise,
it was
Thank you.
Right, of course, but... Okay, what's the name and the date of the National Day of Wales?
Oh my God, I don't know this. No, I know it's about leeks, and it's about daffodils.
Do you know that it's the same?
And it's about St. David.
Okay, so...
And I have no freaking idea where it is. Maybe in July?
So if you know St. David, then the answer is goes with that, and it's... Let's see if that's correct.
It's not in July. It's in daffodils come out at the end of winter. It's like February.
It says the 1st of March is the option here.
March, damn it.
So is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, there were multiple choices. You didn't read that out.
You didn't even give us a chance to on the other ones.
Okay, one more.
Can the monarch express her or his views on the government matters?
Oh, God.
Do you want the multiple choices?
Yeah.
Yes, but only privately to the Prime Minister. Yes, but to the Parliament and the government. Yes, whenever she or he wants. No, never.
1, yes, to only privately. Oh gosh, technical flaws.
That is correct.
Woo! Okay, so I think I could have got St. David's. I did say February because I know that it's daffodils and they're coming out at the end of winter.
No, it was correct. It was correct.
If you said St. David's, it comes with the date as well.
So if you knew St. David's, you would go.
Phew, okay, so I just scraped through how British am I this week. I'm still quite British. The official test comes in 2 weeks' time, everyone, so that will be fun. And that's it for us today. I'm going to take us out with our theme song. But thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure as always.